Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to 168 Hours, your weekly roundup of the top local stories. I'm Abdullah Ahil, your host for the evening. Stay tuned. Minister of Climate Change, Environment and Energy Ali Sharif urges all nations to intensify their collective efforts in combating climate change.
The gathering of environmental leaders, Turkey's road to COP31, Resilient Cities high-level meeting, provided a crucial platform for discussions on overcoming the challenges posed by the global climate crisis, while exploring pathways towards sustainable post-crisis recovery. During his address at the conference, Minister Ali Sharif emphasized the pressing need for international cooperation and innovative solutions to address climate change with the urgency it demands. The minister highlighted Maldives' unwavering commitment to supporting global climate initiatives and expressed the nation's full cooperation and backing for Turkey's leadership role in hosting the upcoming COP31 summit, which represents the largest environmental conference Turkey will convene this year. The high-level meeting also served as a diplomatic opportunity for bilateral engagements on climate priorities. On the sidelines of the conference, Minister Ali Sharif met with Ena Claudia, Executive Director of the United Nations Human Settlement Program, commonly known as UN Habitat. Their discussion centered on the inclusion of Maldives' proposals for climate change assistance within the Adaptation Fund, highlighting the ongoing efforts to secure financial support for vulnerable nations battling the effects of climate change. Minister Ali Sharif's diplomatic engagements extended further as he met with Brunei's Minister of Development, Muhammad Juanda. The two leaders discussed strengthening cooperation across priority areas as both nations prepare for the forthcoming COP summit, identifying key areas where bilateral collaboration could amplify their collective impact on global climate action. Additionally, Minister Ali Sharif held productive discussion with Bangladesh's Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Abdul Awal Mintu. Their meeting focused on regional cooperation mechanisms to address climate change and environmental challenges, with particular attention to collaborative strategies for overcoming the heightened risks that climate change poses to South Asian nations.
The Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development shifts one of three planned 17-story residential towers to a site near the State Electric Company facility in Vilimale after officials determined the original blueprint could destroy the indigenous flora known locally as funa trees.
The two remaining structures will proceed as planned directly opposite Muhyiddin School, ministry representatives said, emphasizing a firm commitment to advancing the 300-unit project without felling the large trees native to the area. Viewed by the government as a critical intervention for accommodating Vilimale's expanding population, the development of rent-free land is slated for completion by mid-2028, according to statements from the Bank of Maldives, which laid the initial foundation this past February. Physical construction was contracted to Rashid Carpentry and Construction Private Limited. The Vilimale Towers represent a segment of a broader national strategy to mitigate housing shortages. Operating under the Maldives Monetary Authority's Inclusive National Affordable Housing Framework, a dedicated Bank of Maldives subsidiary, the BML Affordable Home Leasing Company, is spearheading the comprehensive establishment of 3,260 housing units. This mandate supplements the Vilimale project by delivering a further 2,600 residential units distributed across Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Vilimale City.
President Dr. Mohammad Muiz states that showing true love to children means teaching them about their religion and equipping them with knowledge about the world around them.
The president made the remarks in a social media post shared to mark Children's Day. He also extended greetings and good wishes to children and their families on the occasion. In his message, the president stated that providing children with age-appropriate education and upbringing as they grow is a national responsibility that must be fulfilled jointly by both the government and the public. He noted that educating children in matters related to both faith and worldly life represents the true meaning of love and care for children. The president further stated that true love for children also includes empowering them with the skills needed to become responsible citizens in the future. He additionally stressed the importance of ensuring that children are protected from words or actions that could harm or negatively affect their innocent lives. Children's Day is observed nationally in the Maldives every year on 10th May.
The Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development announces the opening of applications for Category 3 of the Bimberia scheme, with interested citizens required to submit their applications before the end of this month.
The announcement marks a significant expansion of the government's housing initiative, which aims to provide accessible housing solutions to citizens across the nation. According to the official notice published in the government's Gazette, Category 3 applications will be accepted in two distinct categories designed to accommodate different applicant circumstances. The first category permits single applicants who wish to apply for both land and flats under the Bimberia scheme, while the second category caters to joint applicants who prefer to file separate applications for land and flats. The Bimberia scheme operates under three distinct categories, each designed to address specific segments of the population. Category 1 encompasses individuals who have previously submitted joint applications and received land under the scheme. Category 2 serves those who have already received a flat through a government social housing program but were previously unable to apply for the Bimberia scheme. Category 3, currently open for applications, targets single applicants who wish to give up the allocated land from the Bimberia scheme and file separate applications for a land or flat. Under the housing initiative, successful applicants will receive land from Rasmale, with each plot measuring 1,250 square feet. The government has established an ambitious target of distributing 15,000 plots and 7,900 flats as part of the first housing project. The deadline for land and flat applications for most categories under this initial housing project expires at the month's end. The government's comprehensive housing policy, branded as Housing for All, was officially announced in November of last year. The ministry subsequently opened applications in January of this year. The government has demonstrated responsiveness to public feedback by introducing additional categories, following consultations and meetings with the public.
President Dr. Mohammad Muiz announces at a press conference at the President's office that Operation Kurangi is designed primarily to safeguard the rights of migrant workers rather than to penalize them. Addressing journalists, President Muiz detailed the administrative strategy intended to manage undocumented immigration while protecting vulnerable populations. President Muiz asserted that the effort to resolve the issue of undocumented migrant workers represents an administrative undertaking unprecedented in the nation's history. To illustrate the progress of the initiative, he noted a dramatic increase in state intelligence concerning the expatriate population. According to the president, when the administration took office, the government possessed data on merely 13% of the migrant workforce. That figure has surged to 98% within a span of 2.5 years. Operation Kurangi is under no circumstances intended as a punitive measure against migrant workers, President Muiz stated, dismissing notions of a systemic crackdown. Maintaining precise demographic data is a vital prerequisite for ensuring protection, he argued. The administration is processing data to offer an expedited pathway for workers wishing to regularize their status, while deportation proceedings remain underway for those who must legally be removed. Identifying the crisis as one of the nation's most severe challenges, President Muiz underscored a rigorous pursuit of a comprehensive solution. The Maldives has reinforced its position as a global leader in sustainable fisheries management, with Minister of Fisheries, Agriculture and Ocean Resources Ahmad Shiam championing the nation's commitment to balancing the economic needs of fishing communities with the protection of marine ecosystems.
In his address during the 30th session of the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission IOTC held in Male, Minister Shiam highlighted the remarkable dedication of Maldivian fishermen who continue to venture into the seas daily despite challenging weather conditions, describing their determination as a powerful reminder of why the Commission's work matters so deeply to coastal communities throughout the Indian Ocean region. Under the visionary leadership of President Dr. Mohammad Muiz, the government has instituted a comprehensive agenda aimed at strengthening the fisheries sector, modernizing industry practices, providing substantive assistance to fishing families, and serving as a responsible steward of marine biodiversity. The decision to host this significant commission meeting in Malé underscores the administration's unwavering commitment to these objectives, with Minister Shyam expressing sincere gratitude to President Muiz for his instrumental role in making the gathering possible. Minister Shyam explained Maldives' philosophy regarding environmental sustainability, emphasizing that for this island nation, sustainable fisheries represent far more than abstract political rhetoric or vague aspirational goals. The minister noted that long before sustainability became a central theme in international environmental discourse, Maldivian societies understood the intricate connection between healthy marine ecosystems and the well-being of future generations. This traditional wisdom continues to inform contemporary fisheries policy, with the nation's time-honored fishing practices serving as a model for how fishing can be conducted in harmony with marine environments while minimizing harmful impacts on underwater ecosystems. The minister emphasized that the decision emerging from the current meeting carry profound implications extending far beyond immediate regulatory considerations, touching upon the livelihood of coastal communities, global food security, public health, and quality of life, and the preservation of what remains one of humanity's most valuable natural resources.
President Dr. Mohammad Muiz states that nurses are the cornerstone of a sustainable long-term healthcare system.
The president made the remarks in a social media post marking International Nurses Day. He noted that nurses play a vital role in treating patients, preventing the spread of diseases, and more broadly, building a healthier society. In an increasingly challenging world, he said, the role of nurses continues to grow in importance. President Muiz assured that the government would work to safeguard the well-being of nurses and address the challenges faced within the profession. He further stated that priority would be given to improving working environments, increasing allowances, strengthening policies, and expanding training opportunities. These measures, he said, would contribute to a stronger healthcare system. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz concluded his message by expressing gratitude to nurses for their invaluable service. Meanwhile, First Lady Sajida Mohammed highlighted the importance of investing in nurses, referring to this year's theme, Our Nurses, Our Future, Empowered Nurses Save Lives. She called for greater professional development and leadership opportunities within the profession. She also expressed appreciation for the dedication, commitment, and tireless efforts of nurses across the country. International Nurses Day is observed annually on the 12th of May.
Ahmed Shakib, the Managing Director of Public Service Media or PSM, says at the inaugural ceremony of the 21st Asia Media Summit that the rapid advancement of technology has significantly amplified the responsibilities of the press.
Addressing the event at the Villa Nautica Maldives Resort, Shakib underscored the historic and modern relevance of the theme Maldives 2.0 from tradition to tech, noting that Maldivians sustained connections across disparate islands long before modern networks. Today, he observed technological progress is evident throughout every atoll. Shakib highlighted that as capabilities expand, the burden of journalistic responsibility simultaneously intensifies. He highlighted that the media's role extends beyond the dissemination of information to include cultivating public trust, advancing cultural heritage, fortifying democratic institutions, and ensuring every citizen is afforded a voice. PSM, as the state broadcaster, will remain steadfast in leveraging modern tools to serve the public, he affirmed, asserting that journalists must ensure technology ultimately serves human progress. The summit, jointly organized by PSM and the Asia Pacific Institute for Broadcasting Development (AIBD), host over 300 international delegates. The Chief Executive Officer of the AIBD expressed gratitude for the arrangements, and urged media entities to embrace technological tools to propel the industry forward. The future trajectory of the media is inextricably linked to collaborative efforts and public trust, the president of the AIBD General Conference and the Director General of the Public Relations Department of Thailand declared. She characterized the summit's theme as a collective roadmap, asserting that while delivery mechanisms evolve, the objective of safeguarding public interest remains resolute. Turning to global affairs, specifically conflicts in Western Asia, she stated that journalists must operate as critical conduits for humanitarian assistance. It is a core moral responsibility to authentically document and expose human suffering, she underscored. Addressing the rapid proliferation of artificial intelligence, she observed that while the technology introduces unprecedented speed and operational ease, it simultaneously poses a profound threat as an instrument for the dissemination of disinformation. Elaborating on this dynamic, she provided a refined perspective of the industry's horizon, asserting that the future of media will not be determined by the sophistication of the software utilized, but is instead fundamentally anchored in the strength of forged collaborative relationships and the profound depth of trust placed in the media by audiences and listeners. Reaffirming the AIBD's commitment to cultivating a robust electronic media ecosystem across the Asia-Pacific region, she called upon the sector to engage in rigorous dialogue to expand the role of technology and formulate the pivotal strategic decisions required to responsibly guide the industry's evolution before the summit concludes on the 14th of May.
Public Service Media or PSM chairperson Aminat Namza says the role of the media extends far beyond merely disseminating information. It serves as a powerful vehicle for exposing and amplifying the grassroots initiatives that drive meaningful social and environmental transformation across societies. During her address at the second plenary session of the Asia Media Summit, Namza emphasized the most profound changes in the world often emerge not from government policies or institutional mandates, but from quiet, community-led actions rooted in awareness and collective responsibility. She drew attention to a striking observation about the nature of progress, explaining that meaningful transformation frequently begins at the most grassroots levels when ordinary individuals decide to take responsibility for the world around them. The session featured a presentation showcasing the Saniva Namuna Initiative, a noteworthy program operating across the atolls at the Maldives that focuses on advancing waste management practices, reducing dependence on single-use plastics, and promoting environmental education within local communities. The initiative was highlighted as a compelling example of how targeted community engagement can address environmental challenges that affect island nations disproportionately. Namza used this example to illustrate her broader point about the potential for grassroots movements to create ripples of positive change that extend far beyond their immediate geographic scope. Addressing these specific challenges facing island nations, Namza noted that environmental concerns are not abstract policy discussions for countries like the Maldives, but rather daily realities that citizens confront with unwavering regularity. She argued that this immediacy makes community involvement not just beneficial, but absolutely essential for developing effective and lasting solutions. When communities are directly affected by environmental degradation, they possess both the motivation and the intimate knowledge required to implement meaningful responses that more distant policymakers might overlook. The PSM chairperson also spoke to the amplification effect that responsible media coverage can have on grassroots initiatives, explaining that spotlighting successful community-driven projects through thoughtful journalism creates impacts that transcend the original context. Namza reaffirmed her conviction that storytelling and meaningful explanation constitute forces for positive change in their own right. The responsibility of media professionals, she concluded, lies not only in reporting events, but in recognizing, appreciating, and magnifying the ideas and actions that contribute to a more sustainable and conscientious society. The Asia Media Summit concludes successfully, bringing together international communications professionals and government leaders for discussions on the future of broadcasting and digital transformation. Bringing the developments of Day 2 of the summit is Mariam Shaushat from PSM News Team.
The 21st Asia Media Summit has successfully completed in the Maldives after 3 days of discussions which were focused on the future of media, technology and regional cooperation. This year's summit was held in Villa Nautica with collaboration from Public Service Media by Asia Institute for Broadcasting Development, AIBD. More than 300 delegates, including media executives, government officials, broadcasters, journalists and technology experts from across the Asia-Pacific region took part in the summit. Key discussions during the plenary sessions focused on artificial intelligence in journalism, strengthening public trust in media, digital transformation, misinformation, climate-resilient broadcasting and the future sustainability of public service media. The summit also featured a series of specialized workshops and pre-summit sessions on AI tools for news production, social media engagement, disaster-resilient media systems, and emerging technologies shaping the broadcast industry. One of the major highlights of the summit was the presentation of the AIBD Awards, where Public Service Media received AIBD's Special Award for Media Excellence, recognizing its contribution to public service broadcasting and regional media development. The summit further reinforced the Maldives' position as an emerging regional hub for international media dialogue and cooperation. The Asia Media Summit was concluded with hopes for regional partnerships, use of AI responsibly, and with many conversations held on the sidelines of the Asia Media Summit. Reporting from PSM News, I am Mariam Shaushat.
The first session of Parliament for the current year is extended until the 31st of May, allowing legislators additional time to complete pending legislative work. Additionally, the Parliament passes 3 key legislations.
The motion to extend the session received overwhelming support from lawmakers, with 58 members voting in favor, while 11 opposed the extension. The Parliament Speaker announced that the extension was necessary to ensure that important legislation before the Parliament could be properly deliberated and passed. Under the standard parliamentary calendar, the first session would have concluded on the 15th of May, but the Parliament Rules of Procedure permits extension when significant unfinished business remains, provided it gets majority backing of lawmakers. Among the major legislations passed just after voting to extend the session was a substantial amendment to the Pensions Act designed to prevent individuals earning more than the basic pension allocation. The bill, tabled by Milandu MP Hassan Mufid Abdul Qadir on behalf of the government, was passed after consideration by the Parliamentary Independent Institutions Committee, which proposed several amendments to the original text. The legislation establishes new eligibility criteria for basic pension recipients, specifying that a person cannot receive the basic pension if their income exceeds the threshold set for elderly citizens. Additionally, the bill introduces provisions for early release of pension funds for individuals diagnosed with terminal illnesses, defined medical conditions in which a specialist physician determines that the patient is unlikely to survive more than 12 months despite receiving treatment. The Pensions Act amendment also contains provisions addressing several practical matters affecting pension beneficiaries. The legislation permits pension funds to be used as collateral for down payments on house purchases, construction, or repairs, allowing individuals to pledge these funds as security for loans obtained from banks or financing companies. Additionally, the bill enables pension holders to reserve Hajj pilgrimage places in advance using their retirement savings. The new law establishes that the Board of Pension Office, comprising 9 members, will determine the rules and procedures for assessing whether a pensioner exceeds income threshold or remains eligible for benefits. The bill also stipulates that basic pension recipients will lose their pension if they accept elected constitutional positions or employment with state-owned enterprises or government companies. Parliament also passed the much-anticipated organ transplant bill, establishing a comprehensive framework for human organ transplantation in the country. The legislation was introduced by the government in October of the previous year and received unanimous approval from the Parliamentary Social Committee before coming before the full Parliament. The bill sets out comprehensive standards and regulations governing organ transplantation while clearly defining the rights and responsibilities of both service providers and recipients. Under the new legal framework, organ transplants will only be permitted from living donors or live donor organ transplants, with donations requiring voluntary consent from a mentally sound individual who has attained the age of 18 years. The legislation explicitly prohibits individuals in state custody or those serving sentences from donating organs. The organ transplant bill received overwhelming support from Parliament, passing with 68 votes in favor, requiring only presidential assent to become law. In other significant legislative action, Parliament approved an amendment to the Decentralization of Administrative Areas Act, transferring employees of Local Government Authority (LGA) to the civil service. The government argued that this change would strengthen the management of local government bodies by incorporating their staff into the established civil service structure. The LGA serves as an oversight body for the activities and operations of local councils under the Decentralization Act, and the reforms aim to professionalize its workforce while ensuring consistent standards across the public sector. The amendment passed with 59 votes in favor.
And that's all the news we have for this week's 168 Hours. We will bring you further weekly updates the next week.